went to sleep that night and woke up the next morning, and Anna shouted from her tent, "Faye, are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm okay. I'm okay." And so we took our bikes and then spent the rest of that day attempting to summit or cycle up the highest road in the world.
Episode 317, the South American Bike Tour with Anna McNuff and Faye Shepherd, Part 1. You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast, brought to you by 180 Tech. We talk with adventurers from around the globe to bring you the inspiration and motivation you need to get started in the outdoors or to keep you moving if you're already there. Now here's your host, Kurt Linville.
Hello, friends. Thank you so much again for listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast today. I have one of our favorite returning guests on the phone with one of her best friends. Anna McNuff is here with Faye Shepherd to share with us their amazing cycling trip through the Andes of South America. They took this trip from the 10th of October through the 11th of April, bridging winter for the Northern Hemisphere, which was, of course, summer for the Southern Hemisphere. I'm really excited to visit about that trip. Let me give you a little bit of the background on these two ladies. First, Anna McNuff. She's been on the show before. Anna's the one who biked through all 50 U.S. states, who ran unsupported or self-supported both islands of New Zealand. And she did other things, like we had Anna on the show to talk about going across Europe by social media, I believe is what we called that. She said beyond my back gate is what she called it, but that's where people on social media voted where she should go as she traveled, and it was an amazing, fun adventure. So very adventurous lady. Faye is in paramedic training. She's a big proponent of many adventures, and let's see, in 2014, she summited Kilimanjaro. And then after Anna's trip, she cycled New Zealand in 2015, I think inspired in part by what Anna did. And she also does mountain rescue. She teaches rock climbing. She grew up in Cornwall and lives there. So two ladies from the UK, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast.
Oh, thank you very much for having us.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're really excited to have you. It's so much fun. And before we started recording, I think we should have recorded because we did about half a show just having a lot of fun visiting about what's been going on in your lives. Wow, you two have been doing some really, really neat stuff. So I think it's awesome. Faye, I'm going to start with you. Will you tell us just a little bit about your growing up years and how you got plugged in to adventure?
Yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah, I'm quite a quiet, shy person, really, and I grew up in Cornwall, sort of messing around. I had a little Jack Russell that I would come home from school and play with in the woods, but quite a shy person. Always used to get scared going to people's houses for sleepovers. Quite often, my mum would get called at 10 o'clock to come and pick me up because I was terribly homesick. So not at all adventurous as a young person, but I did the regular thing of going to university and getting a degree and then going into a job and just working the 9 to 5 and going through the process of life, really. And it wasn't until it was about 3 years ago now, in 2014, a friend phoned me and was like, "Faye, do you fancy summiting or attempting to climb Kilimanjaro for my birthday?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." And so that was the start of it all, really. I went off to climb Kilimanjaro. It was on that trip that I found it was like the first taste of really pushing myself beyond my perceived limits, and that was the start of it all, really. So yeah, then after that, I came back to Cornwall, and I just wanted more adventure. And so I looked on social media, and I saw Alistair Humphrey's micro adventure book, and that Anna was out there doing stuff like taking groups out micro adventuring around London. And I thought, this is cool. I can have a bit of an adventure after work. So I started doing doing that. So after work, I'd grab my bivvy bag and a friend and go and sleep on a hill. And then the next day go into work, and that was the beginning, really, of the next few years leading until now, really.
Well, I think that's wonderful. And then there was a connection with Anna that led you to cycle the length of New Zealand. Tell us about that.
Yes, this sounds like massively stalkerish.
It's true,
anyway. Well, I was going out to New Zealand for a friend's wedding, for a school friend in 2015, and I was on social media, and I'd seen that Anna was doing all this micro adventure stuff, and that her next challenge was going to be running the length of New Zealand solo, and completely self-supported. And I was like, I just could not believe it. I'd never seen, or, I'd never read anything like that before. And I just thought, this is amazing. Like, although I'm not an ex-rower for Great Britain or anything like this, Anna is just showing that, anybody can do it. And I thought, well, I probably can't run it. I can't run the length of New Zealand, but I can probably cycle it. So I ended up flying my bike out when I was going to go to this wedding. Well, flying a friend's bike out. I didn't even own a bike. And flying all his kit out, the tent, I borrowed everything. And then I just started off pedaling at the bottom of New Zealand, going up towards the top. And along the way, I sent Anna a message because she was running at the same time. And I was continually being inspired by her posts. And we just so happened to be in the same town at the same day, which was coincidence, actually, even though it doesn't quite sound it. So I tracked her down on her tracker, and it was just absolutely pouring with rain. It was like the worst weather New Zealand could throw at us, really. It was hauling it down with rain, and I thought, there's no way Anna's going to be running in this. There's no way. But anyway, I pedaled out on my bike, and I found her emerging from the bush, running with this great big backpack on, just plodding away. Like, I didn't know I could get even more inspired, but I did when I saw Anna coming out of the bush.
So this is the first time you actually met face to face.
Yeah, I was, at this point, I would just have to say, I was a broken woman. I had to run, I think, like 40 kilometers that day, kind of like 24 miles. And I'd had 3 weeks of torrential rain, and this was the town I was making it to. I was going to have a little bit of a break, and to come out, and I was just trying to get through the last mile to the town. And then this girl just appears on a bike, and she's like, Anna! I'm like, hello, who are you? My name's Faye! And she just gave me a hug. And yeah, she said, I've bought you a night at the Backpackers, and I've got a bottle of wine and some ice cream. I was just like, I love you. This is amazing. But yeah, that was how we met.
Wow, that sounds like a great way to start a friendship. That's
it really
amazing.
was.
Yeah, cemented over ice cream and a great film.
Great film, yeah.
Well, I did not realize until you just told the story that you were biking New Zealand at the same time that Anna was running New Zealand, and then you met there. That is really funny.
Yeah,
no,
you couldn't make it up.
No. That is fantastic. And I guess the friendship worked because you ended up biking the Andes together all through South America. Wow. Yeah. Tell me how this transpired. Anna, let's give you a chance to jump in here. How did you guys decide to bike South America together?
Well, I should probably have to jump in because it was definitely my fault. Because I don't know if you remember last time I came on the show, I said at the end, I'm gonna scoot the length of South America.
Right, it was a kick bike, right?
Right, yeah, on a kick bike. So I still had this idea, and I've been messing around on scooters for a while, like a kick bike. And I thought, I really want to explore South America. So yeah, I'll just do it on a scooter. And I just thought, who can I call in my mental Rolodex who would happily give up 6 months of their life and agree to come kick biking, scootering with me? And I thought, Faye Shepherd. So I just called Faye out of the blue and was like, Faye, mate, do you want to come scoot that South America? And she's like, yes, I do. And I kind of knew that she'd just finished one of, I think he'd just been made redundant from a job. So she was pretty free. And, but we did leave it to chance in the end, whether she was actually going to be able to come, because you were applying for various things like the police and stuff like that. And so we were kind of leaving it loose. But we did say, well, if we do go, let's do a tester trip. And so someone said to us, they said, you know that the roads in Wales are really like South America. I'm like, really? Are they? So we did about sort of 7 hours of driving to go and pick up these scooters, which we got from this couple who race huskies off them. So they attach huskies to the front and then they get dragged along on these scooters. And we were really worried about the clearance. So we were really worried because it's almost like a skateboard platform with the two big wheels.
Right.
We thought, well, all the rocks and stuff, they might, we might not be able to get the clearance to go over them. So we were really concerned about that. And then we took them out to these roads in Wales and we were really excited. And we started scooting on the first day. We're like, yeah, great. And then we got to the first hill and both of us just went really quiet. And after about 5 minutes, and then we had to get off and walk and push them, I just looked at Faye and I said, we're not taking these to South America, are we? She was like, no, they don't go up hills. And I was thinking there's quite a lot of mountains in South America. So we just decided that we'd forget about it and just have the most awesome weekend we could. And we had a blast on them. They were just, they're so much fun.
It's so
bombing
much
them
fun.
downhill. Oh, God, it's like downhill. It's like downhill skiing. Oh, it's so much fun. And then at the end of the weekend, we then just talked about all the different options. And we kind of arrived at, well, if we're not going to go on scooters because we're going to be going up mountains, then we might as well go up as many mountains as humanly possible. And I think there was the chat of, I was like, Faye, I really hate going downhill, but I love going uphill. And Faye was like, I love going uphill too. I was like, should we just go uphill as much as possible? Yes,
Wow.
Let's do that. So that's what we decided to do on bicycles. Go uphill as much as possible.
Well, the problem is that what goes up must come down again.
Yeah, I know. I would gladly hand my bike to someone at the top to ride it down every time.
Wow. So that kind of surprises me because most people, Anna, of course, we all know how masochistic you are, but most people would say the downhill is the fun part. The uphill is the work to get to the downhill, but you've got it the other way.
Oh, honestly, I don't know whether it's about control or something, but I love that sick burn and the kind of the sick monotony of climbing a hill. You just get into this rhythm and you're kind of on the little knife edge of pain. But then I find coming downhill, my imagination just goes bananas and I'm just an absolute granny and I just hands on the brake and I get like claw hands by the end. And Faye, on this trip, Faye was just dropping me all the hills. She would just absolutely drop me. I was like, you're quite quick down hills, Faye. But we both like going up. So that was the important bit.
Right. Well, I actually understand what you're talking about exactly. I do enjoy climbing a lot and people look at you funny. But I think what happens is that over time, you get accustomed to that feeling of, how else to say it, you feel really alive when you're climbing a mountain on a bike.
Yes.
It's just like,
Definitely.
wow, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? So is that what it is for you, Faye?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And when you get to the top and or even just plodding your way through it and you completely drift off, you just turn your legs and you can feel the burn, your lungs burn, your legs burn. And just when you get to the top as well, and you look back at where you've come up or you spent many hours going up and you get to the top and you're like, wow, this is awesome. But I also love going down, so that helps as well.
Well, let's talk about how much uphilling you did because it's quite remarkable. Do you have the stats for this ride? It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we were about 103,000 meters of ascent by the end. So that was over 11 times the height of Everest on our humble loaded touring bikes, most of it off-road, 80% off-road, I think we worked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
103,000 meters. Now, that's not feet, that's meters.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That's meters, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
so what's that, like 3 times that?
I just have to point that out for all of our American listeners. That's 3.25 more. So we're talking about about 400,000, almost 400,000 feet of climbing. Wow.
Yeah, we love our climbing.
We do.
That's
and
nuts.
The scariest thing that not a lot of it, but a huge chunk of it happened in the first 2 weeks because there's this area in Bolivia called the Yungas where it's kind of jungle-like and was very hot, sort of 30 to 37 degrees C. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but incredibly hot, incredibly humid. And the roads, there are no flat roads. You basically go up a mountain, over it, down to the river, up another mountain, over it. And And so in the first 2 weeks, we had absolutely just destroyed ourselves.
Yes, it was like
So
it was
a bit of
baptism by fire.
It was.
sure.
It really was.
Fall is the best time to start thinking snow, and Bentgate Mountaineering is ready to help you get prepared for your epic winter. Come check out the latest in alpine touring, telemark, NTN, and splitboarding gear. Brands like Black Crows, DPS, Dynafit, G3, Icelantic, K2, Technica Blizzard, Arc'teryx, Mammoth, Solomon, Volley, Never Summer, Jones, and BCA. And you need to be safe out there. Bentgate has the latest in avalanche safety gear from beacons to airbags, and they are ready to help you educate yourself on snow safety. You can also rent skis, boots, splitboards, beacons, shovels, and probes at Bentgate. What's more, they host free demo ski days at local resorts so you can try out the latest gear. Stop by Bentgate in Golden, Colorado, or go to bentgate.com to check out your new gear as well as to get updates on all of their events. Well, 37C, this is the way I convert this, and it's not correct, but it's close. Double it and add 32, and then take a little off again, right?
Amazing.
So what that ends up being is about 100 to 110 degrees or something like that Fahrenheit, and humid.
Oh, honestly, Faye, you took a bit of an exception to that one a few of the days, and you were having a hard time in the heat. But it was
definitely. I mean, the humidity, I think, was what gets to me. I mean, for a redhead, I normally love the sun and love the heat, but it was just so suffocating. And like we started, and I thought, oh my goodness, is this what the whole of the Andes is going to be like? But it wasn't. It did change pretty quickly.
We were stopping every 20 minutes in that first 2 weeks as well, because we were still getting used to the altitude. I mean, we flew into 4,000 meters above sea level, and then we were sort of dancing around at that for the first 2 weeks.
Wow,
and,
that's up there.
And we just weren't used to it. And then add the heat and the humidity on top of that, and we were having to stop every 100 meters of ascent on our bikes, which is only really 20 minutes, and then we'd stop and lie in the shade and collapse a bit. And
we were literally exhausted at that point. Like, I just can't even comprehend it now, like thinking about having just to go up 100 meters and be exhausted and really having to motivate ourselves to get back on the bikes. It just seems so foreign now.
Wow. So just so our audience understands what's going on here, we've had a lot of shows that talk about acclimating to altitude, and anytime you get a healthy person that comes from sea level, let's say it this way, you get to about 10,000 feet, you really start to feel it. Up around 12,000 feet, it just hurts. And at that altitude, which is what you're talking about, 4,000 meters, at that altitude, it's high enough that some people actually get very, very ill. They have to be hospitalized because of cerebral edema or pulmonary edema or these sorts of things. And one thing that's very common is that you get a little bit of dizziness and an upset stomach. And that's just what altitude does to people. And doctors recommend people who are not healthy not even try to do that. You can go to those altitudes, but you need to go to some intermediate level and stay for a while and let your body build up some more hemoglobin so then you can get enough oxygen to continue. You're saying that the two of you flew in to about 12,000 feet and hit it hard right away.
Well, we planned to, but we took a week. We took we had 5 days where we thought we'll acclimatize a bit, because we were struggling to get our bikes even off the baggage carousel and onto the trolleys without passing out. And then we had a 5 days where basically, I mean, I've got an appetite like a horse, and Faye similar as well.
I do too. Yes.
I'd buy a burrito and cut it into 4, and it was an absolute achievement if I'd managed to eat the 4th part of the burrito by the end of the day. I mean, I had no appetite.
Right.
And then, but of course, Faye had been up to Kilimanjaro. The highest I'd been until this point was 2,500 meters in the Alps, really. So not even up to 10,000 feet, really. I mean, I had been up once or twice in the Rockies, but very, very briefly. So Faye kind of had the upper hand, but then we tried to ride up to a ski station at 5,000 meters, didn't we, Faye?
We did, yeah. That was a pretty brutal day. It was just nuts. We what were we at? 4,500, and then to go up to 5,000 meters, I think it was 500. Yeah, around 500, 5.5, 500 meters in a day. And we started out, and we got to the top of La Paz, and which was probably like a couple of 100 meters elevation, and Anna was looking, white, exhausted. I was feeling horrendous as well. And I've got a SATS probe which measures the amount of oxygen in our blood, and so we would pop it on each other throughout the duration of our trip, actually, and see how low our oxygen levels were. But I think what were your oxygen levels on that one, Anna?
74. Mine went down to 74. So that's when I thought, because it's a weird thing, Kurt. You're kind of going, well, I don't know what this feels like. At what point am I not okay? Because I'm feeling a bit lightheaded and I'm feeling a bit nauseous, but I'm used to pushing on through things. But equally, I know I shouldn't push on through some of this. But then where's that line? And so it was like a weird science experiment that first week, just trying to work out what my body was okay with and what wasn't. And we were trying to go by the SATs. But I think we learned as the trip went on that actually I could have quite low SATs and be okay. Because my body was actually taking more oxygen from each blood cell. It was actually using the oxygen that was there better than other people would. Whereas Faye's, if yours dropped sort of below 80, you were in trouble, really.
I was in trouble, yeah. I mean,
but yours didn't drop as much.
No, I mean, in normal life, if you're under 95%, people begin to get worried. And to have SATs of like 74, I was like panicking. I was panicking that Anna was like in big trouble. And I think come the end, we knew what was normal for each other. Like if Anna was behaving weirdly, then I could tell by the end, because we'd been hanging around with each other for 6 months. I think living in each other's pockets for a while, you begin to notice what's normal and what's not so normal.
Right.
Wow. But no, that was.
And you talk about. Yeah.
Sorry.
And Faye, you talk about the sickness, Kurt. And Faye, do you want to tell them about the Usurunku day? Because that was really like your day of pushing on through horrendous altitude sickness.
It really was. I mean, I've dreamed of summiting a 6,000 meter peak since Kilimanjaro, just because Kilimanjaro is so close. It's 5,895 meters, so you're literally 105 meters off. And I don't know why, I just love the altitude. But on this route that we'd chosen, there was an opportunity to like veer off course. It would be like a day in to get to this volcano called Volcan Uturuncu, which was like 6,008 meters. And so we thought, you know what, we'll go to the town, pick up a load of food and try and hit it. And so we went to this little village. There was a small shop that we picked up supplies, and we basically bought the majority of food in the shop and then ate it straight away because we've been starving. And at this point we were like totally fine, but we just ate way too much. And then we got on a bike and decided to pedal to try and make this where we thought we would camp at the base of this volcano. And beginning to pedal along, and I just began to feel pretty horrendous. Like I felt sick and I had a very upset stomach, and literally I would pedal a few hundred meters, get off the bike, and without being too graphic, I would be horrendously ill, and then have to get back onto the bike and keep pedaling while poor Anna was waiting very patiently.
I was fine. I wasn't being ill, but it wasn't for you.
So it wasn't so much fun, and I was more crushed by the fact that I thought my dream of getting up a 6,000 meter peak was over, because I just was absolutely completely drained. But we made it to where we wanted to make it to that night, and we set up camp. I don't think we had dinner that night, and
no,
which is quite unusual for us, because that would be the highlight of our day. But I think pigging out at the shop in the morning was the issue. But we went to sleep that night and woke up the next morning, and Anna shouted from her tent, "Faye, are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm okay. I'm okay." And so we took our bikes and then spent the rest of that day attempting to summit or cycle up the highest road in the world. And we made it to 5,150 meters above sea level before ditching our bikes and switching to our feet. At which point, both Anna and I were pretty ruined, weren't we, Anna? But I was all right on the bike pedaling at that stage, and Anna was. You were off the bike at that stage, weren't you, Anna?
Yeah, this is what I found fascinating about altitude.
It's amazing.
Is that you couldn't pick what it was going to do to one another's bodies, and
Sure.
I was struggling. Yeah, I was struggling to pedal, to even keep my pedals turning, and Faye was still going for it. And then I said to Faye, like, I lay on my back and I was like waves of nausea, and I thought, I cannot carry on. And I thought, right, now is the moment for me where I need to get off the bike and I need to walk. And so I sort of said that to Faye, and she was like, yeah, okay, let's go for it. So we stashed our bikes, like Faye said, and then we started walking, and I felt amazing. I was sort of like skipping along, and then I looked at Faye, she'd just gone white as a sheet. And
no.
she looked over and she said to me, she's like, Anna, do you feel really, really rough? I was like, no, I feel brilliant. And our bodies had just completely flipped. But mine was great with walking, but it couldn't cycle. And Faye loved cycling, but hated walking at that altitude. And
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Bizarre.
It changes from time to time, adventure to adventure, for one individual person.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. And we carried on. We managed to carry on, but we were being reduced to, we were making sort of 10 meters of ascent at a time and then stopping. And we made a promise that we'd turn around before 4 p.m. that evening. And we've been going since sort of 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh. And it was long, but we could see the summit. But equally, there were lots of different options to get up there. And to me, all of them looked ridiculous. I'm talking like loose, scrambly lava rock. And
massive boulders.
And we just, we were there, just us two, without guide, thinking the only people we've got to rely on are, each other. And I just had this moment where I thought, I'm not sure this is sensible anymore. But I knew it meant so much to Faye. So, so I turned to Faye and I was like, well, actually, you turned to me, didn't you, Faye, and said, what are you thinking right now? And I said, I'm thinking right now, if we zoomed out from this volcano, I'd be asking, what are you doing? And I'd be saying, go down. And then Faye, you agreed, didn't you? But it had to come from you. Like, I would have pushed on but we both agreed it was not sensible.
No, and I would have never lived it down, like being rescued from a mountain, being in a mountain rescue team.
That's it. But we were 5,800 meters high, and that is the highest I've been. So
yeah, that's impressive.
And definitely, like, completely happy with the decision. And at that point, we just sort of sat down, didn't we, and looked at where we were, which was just in the middle of nowhere, pretty much, apart from this tiny little town that was, effectively 2 days away. And it was just incredible. It was, for me, not reaching the summit was, just as special an experience as reaching a summit, reaching the top of Kilimanjaro. Just to make it there and sit and look down at the view was amazing.
Yeah, we interview a lot of mountaineers, of course, on the Adventure Sports podcast, and the ones who are the most successful, I said it that way on purpose, they tend to agree that what matters is the way that you do the adventure. It's not the summit.
Yeah.
It's the experience of the attempt and being safe enough that when you turn around and come back down, you can feel proud of yourself because you can go back another day. That's probably the easiest way to say it. The people that take too much risk, to go too far, too late, too high, they're the ones that don't live to tell the tale. So I'm sure that you guys did the right thing. But what I want to highlight here is you did most of that mountain on bikes, and they're not like this is a mountain bike ready for an expedition climb just up a mountain. These are loaded up for touring.
Yeah.
So this is not just a walk up a mountain. This is crazy. So let's talk about the kit just a little bit. How heavy was your bike, Anna?
I think it was probably about 32 kilos with everything on. That would be base weight. And then the most water we had to carry was over Christmas. We had to load up with about 17 litres of water each.
Ooh.
And that was heavy, really heavy. And so it got a lot heavier at times. And also the roads, the Bolivian roads, they take you to some amazing places, but it's like riding on, you've either got broken crockery, that kind of surface, or you're riding on corrugation where you're getting kind of judded around, or you're in deep sand. So it was really, looking back, I just think, how on earth did we keep going sometimes? But you just crack on with it, it's just one day at a time. But yeah, heavy bikes. And we had different bikes as well. I had traditional mountain bike size wheels and a bit more of a touring bike setup. And Faye had she had like a kind of bigger 29-inch wheels and more of a kind of a more racier frame, but a bit different. And then you had tubeless tires as well, which actually turned out to be the way forward. Tubeless tires are the way forward.
So, Faye, did your bike have a front shock, rear shock, any suspension?
No, not at all. No, it was a custom built frame. No shock or suspension at all. But yeah, big 29-inch wheels, 2.5-inch wide tubeless tires. So loads of grip and nice and big, so that they would try and go over any sand. But
I was going to say,
the sand,
probably nice in the sand.
Yeah, nice and deep in the sand, and they actually rolled pretty nice on the roads as well. Like it was fine on the roads. No, it's just a really nice bike, really. But just we had so in terms of luggage, we had a rear rack each, so we had 2 panniers and our tents on the back, and then we had a handlebar bag on the front, and that was it really. We wanted to go as light as we could, but I mean that was. Like, we were trying to go as light as we could, but in order to carry all the water and everything, we just needed that sort of setup.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you mentioned 17 liters of water, Anna. That's, again, that's like 35 pounds.
Oh, my gosh. It was so ridiculous. Just every time we did it. And I think because I'd done a few adventures before, I was actually very sensible on water this time. And we always carried a little bit spare, and it's not like New Zealand where there's running rivers everywhere and you're always going to be okay. In areas of Bolivia and Argentina, it is so dry. I mean, there is nothing, and so I think we both freak each other out. And I'm sort of going, well, at least one of us has got spare. We've both got spare water if the other one goes. But there was one day where we carried all that water, and it was over Christmas, and I basically got heat exhaustion because it hit 45 degrees C. And
on Christmas.
This is my Christmas treat. And all the water in our bottles and our bladder, because we had a black bladder on the back, had just turned basically to boiling point. And obviously not quite that hot, but very hot. So actually every time I took a drink, all that was happening was I got hotter. And by the end of the day, I think we rode sort of almost 80 miles that day, I think. And by the end of it, I was in absolute state. I was sort of nauseous and
you weren't making any sense either. You were sort of babbling away. Like, I thought, something's wrong here.
You two ladies keep on telling me what you're going through, and I'm thinking, wow, this is over the top. 45 degrees Celsius is 113 degrees Fahrenheit. You have a 100-pound bike.
That sounds gnarly.
Your water's about to boil sitting on the frame. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but man.
What a way to spend a Christmas.
I know.
Merry Christmas. That adds kind of a new perspective to the famous song "Dreaming of a White Christmas," doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, how we were.
Covered white with ash, maybe.
Yeah, that was it.
HydroBlue is a water filter company that was created to provide high-quality water filters at an affordable price while helping end the world water crisis. They strive to make clean water more acceptable to the outdoor adventurer and the less fortunate. Check out their website at www.hydroblu.com. This episode of the Adventure Sports Podcast is brought to you by 180tac.com. 180tac manufactures premier backpacking and emergency products. Whether you need a backpacking stove for your week-long trek on the trail or an emergency stove for your bug-out bag, we have the tools you need. Visit www.180tack.com.
Well, in the end, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but Anna, it sounds like your bike was almost like a cyclocross setup, almost like a road bike with some knobbies.
Yeah, it was an absolute battle act.
And so which bike was better for what you were doing? Did you decide?
I think Faye's was better. I mean, mine did absolutely amazing for the amount we put it through, and I mean, I think I had less small technical things go wrong with it, because Faye, you had some issues with your rack and stuff. So my entire setup, I think, was very durable. But in terms of coping with the terrain, Faye's, her tubeless tyres and the fatter wheels and the bigger wheels was definitely the way to go for South America, because I think I went smaller wheels because I thought we're not going to be able to get the spare parts. And actually all that ended up happening is I got loads of punctures and Faye got none and had no problems with parts. Except once where we had a bit of a scare, didn't we? Where you had your real Faye's rear wheel basically completely collapsed and caved.
My rim
and
did.
How far were we from the town? And you had to make it to the town.
About 300 kilometers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
from the nearest,
on a wing and a prayer. Yeah.
So is this where you had to have something 3D printed for the bike?
No. The bike shop, Cranked Bikes, they 3D printed this little rubber washer that fit in between my bike rack and my bike to make the bike rack fit. So that was just a cool component that I liked the look of.
Fun. That's
fun.
But
no, it was like we were 300 kilometers from a town, and the spoke broke, and there was like a hole in my rim, so we had to limp it there, using the supplies that we had to try and fix the bike, which were basically a bit of electrical tape holding the spoke out of the way.
The funniest moment with a breakage that we had, Kurt, was we were cycling into this town, and we were in a section in Patagonia where there were quite a lot of cycle tourists, and we were being passed back and forth, and I was just cycling along behind Faye. It was quite a bumpy road, and just from behind her whole back rack just dropped off onto the floor, and it was like watching someone like drop their trousers. It just dropped. And then you could see her, she sort of carried on trying to cycle, turned around as if going, oh, I'm sure I can carry on, whatever it is, and then spotted her whole rack on the floor. And so I got up to her, and we got like the cable ties out, the gaffer tape. We were like, yeah, come on, we'll fix this. That's fine. Nuts and bolts, we're all fixing it. And then this guy comes along, and he's like, do you need any help? And we said, British guy, do you need any help? And we were like, nah, we got this covered, actually, we're all right. And then we just started chatting, and we said, so do you think, are you going to camp in the next town? He said, oh, I don't know. It's a little bit cold.
The sun doesn't come on it.
Yeah, that's it. The sun doesn't come on that town in the morning. I might move on. And we were just thought the contrast, like, two girls with cable ties and a broken rack, and some guy going, oh, the campsite's a bit cold for me. It was brilliant.
That's fun. Well, everybody has his or her own favorite level of adventure, and yours is pretty high up there, gals. I have to tell you, that's pretty extreme.
It was fun. It was lots of fun.
We've not even told the listeners what your route was yet. I'm sure they're like, oh, I know you're in South America, but where did you go? So give us the quick play-by-play. What was the route you took?
Do I go for it? Oh, okay.
No, you go.
Okay, so we started in La Paz in Bolivia, and then we took like an acclimatization ride up to Lake Titicaca, which is the highest navigable lake in the world that we found out, just purely by accident. And then we headed back down south through Bolivia. We headed through the South Yungas region, which is super hilly, and then down through. Feel free to interject, Anna, if I'm missing some regions, because you're the one that's amazing at place names. Anyway, so then we headed south into Chile, and then zigzagged our way down through the Andes, crossing the Chilean and Argentinian border. All the way down to Patagonia at the bottom, and eventually ending up in Tierra del Fuego and Ushuaia at the very bottom of South America. So really just trying to head over the Andes as much as possible, heading south.
Now, a lot of people would have tried to have avoided being in the Andes as much as possible. You realize this, right?
Yeah.
They're missing a trick.
Yeah, they really, honestly, some of the passes, Kurt, one day we did 88 switchbacks. We rode 88 switchbacks, and that was like a little bit going up, but most of it was coming down. And I've just never, ever seen roads like it. They just snake on, and you spend a whole day going uphill from sort of 1,000 meters up to 4,000 meters above sea level. And then you plunge back down. It's just phenomenal. Yeah.
I think I saw that picture on Instagram.
Oh yeah, it's like a spaghetti road, and I've seen
it's crazy.
it. Someone posted it, yeah. And half of the fun for us was actually researching the route as well, and trying to work out. I mean, we could have done so much more wiggling. We did a lot of wiggling, but there were so many places we could have gone up and explored, and like old, disused mines and all these roads that ended in dead ends and things like that. But we actually just ran out of time in the end. We had to get going.
Yeah, we did.
Well, it sounds really delightful, and I don't blame you for wanting to stick to the Andes. I mean, I love mountains myself, and the experiences that you have when you're both going up and coming down and at the top and in the valleys. I mean, it doesn't matter. Mountains are just magical.
It's incredible. And it's not just like the scenery and, like you say, the physical getting there. For us, I think, like I said, Anna's first time experiencing proper high altitude stuff. And that in itself it's like a drug. It's like having that feeling of breathlessness, and like for me, I'm completely addicted to high altitude stuff. And just even like being able to get out of your tent and go for a wee in a bush, and you're completely out of breath. You're like,
right.
What is going on? But then when you come down to sort of sea level, especially on like the big descents, when you start off in all your clothes because it's sort of freezing cold at altitude, and then I think one day when we came down from Bolivia into Chile, we ended up at San Pedro de Atacama, which is, it's at the fringes of the Atacama Desert, which is the driest desert in the world, and it's the driest place in the world. And we started up at sort of 5,000 meters above sea level in all of our layers, and then we spent like how many hours was that, Anna, going down?
An hour and a half going solidly downhill. Yeah.
And it was incredible. We just had to keep stopping and peeling off layers as it got hotter and hotter and hotter. And then by the end of it, we were sort of in shorts and t-shirt and breathing in this air that's so thick it's like inhaling soup. But that feeling is just incredible. So.
Well, that brings something up. Mountaineers, they acclimate by doing, the trips up and down the mountain and that sort of thing until they get to the point if they feel confident that they can manage the altitude. But when you're on a bike, you're potentially going faster. Maybe not so much going up, but when you come back down again, you can really cover a lot of ground in a hurry. And I've experienced this because I sleep at altitude. When I fly to sea level, I feel a little bit off for a couple of days just because it's too low. So did that impact you when you would come down a mountain on the bikes?
I can't remember a time when I felt I never felt bad being low when I hadn't been quite high that day, if that makes sense. So I always just thought I'm feeling rough because I've been up there today. So I don't think, I guess I've grown up at sea level, so I don't remember feeling that. There was one day that I had, and it was probably only one day that I got quite a bad headache and everything, and I was quite keen to get as low down as possible. But Faye was quite rightly saying we don't want to get to the bottom of the valley floor because it's really cold down there, so let's stay a little bit up. So I don't know. Did you get that, Faye? Did you feel too low at any point?
No, I can't really remember feeling like too low. I can definitely remember feeling too high.
Right.
No, not really too low. No,
I think you're superhuman, Kurt. You're just like you're just
are.
bred specimens
No,
out there, aren't you? In the Mile
I don't
High
think
City.
so.
That's it.
Well, when we fly to sea level, sometimes we get a slight headache for a day or something like that. And we notice we don't have to breathe. I mean, we could breathe through a tiny little straw and it'd be plenty of air. But it's just because we sleep at altitude.
Yeah.
Well, goodness, we've done the who, we've done the what, we've done the when, now we've even done the where, but we haven't even started on the why. Why do you ladies do these things?
Do you want to go first, Anna?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay, well, for me, it's Like the last few challenges, they've been like each time I've gone on one, I've come back and grown as a person, and it's given me. I've learned something from it, something that has actually changed my life. I've become maybe slightly more confident, or it gives you perspective as well. Like you realise that actually, we are massively lucky to be doing what we're doing. And so, we're in a very fortunate position that we can occasionally go off and do these things. But so there's the personal growth bit, but then there's also, taking everybody along on a journey with us. I mean, my family love seeing it, and it's just a great thing to do. I mean, you meet loads of people. It's just amazing. I love it. But Anna, you can probably explain a bit better than that.
No, not at all. My reasons are really, really similar, and I think for me, like every adventure, it's got to be different. And the reason I wanted to do this one was partly because I wanted to go somewhere where I couldn't speak the language, because I really struggle with confidence in other languages. And we did 3 days of Spanish lessons, which was hilarious. And I actually realised by the end, I was like, I'm not that bad at Spanish. Like I'm actually I can do this. And but that was a really important part of it. And the other thing is I wanted to go with someone else, because it's all very well and good doing all these adventures on your own, but that doesn't always teach you much about tolerance and compassion. And I thought, well, if I go with someone else, namely Faye, because she's pretty laid back and pretty chilled and awesome, I thought I got a feeling I might learn something about not my way of seeing the world, definitely not being the right way, and always, and I think for me that was the most surprising. There were two surprises out of the journey. I think one of them was how much I loved altitude, even though I hated it at the time. I loved it in hindsight. And the second thing I think was just the way that Faye and I managed our relationship through the trip. And I think we worked out we had a total of 4 fallings out, where we worked out we had 3 full ones and then 2 half ones. and one of them was on Christmas Eve, and after we'd had our falling out, and then we sorted it all out, and we always sorted it out really quickly. Within sort of 20 minutes of having a disagreement, we'd sorted it out. And I remember calling my boyfriend when Faye wasn't there and just telling him what happened and whatever. And he just said to me, he said, here you are out in the Andes on Christmas Eve, you're learning, you're growing as an individual, and I'm sat here in my pants eating Quality Streets, which is our chocolate in the UK. And I think that sums it up for me. We could just stay at home and it'll all be easy, or you can go and choose to be really uncomfortable and probably learn some things about yourself, that are uncomfortable, but equally they make you grow as a person. So I just think it was the most amazing journey. Definitely not like anything I'd ever done before.
You can catch part 2 of Anna and Faye's episode on Monday. Until then, get out and have some fun.